I'm Rob Port from SayAnythingBlog.com. I have with me Representative Todd Porter. Last year, there was a measure that didn't quite make it to the ballot thanks to some unfortunate petition fraud, but it was a measure that would have created a conservation board in state government, would have been funded by oil tax revenues, and it would have been used to promote conservation in the state. Voters didn't get a chance to vote on that, but the issue has been brought up again in the legislature, and Representative Porter is one of the sponsors of the bill. First of all, thank you for your time, and explain to us what exactly this bill is and how it differs from what voters might have seen on the ballot.
Well, Rob, the bill that the voters would have seen would have created a standalone board that had the powers of appropriation, and they would have been funded through the general fund, I think to the tune of the estimates were out there somewhere between $100 and $200 million a biennium, and the oversight that they would have had would have been nothing. It would have been a self-run, self-appropriating, self-sustained board. What we have done is put together a package that recognizes some of their areas of concern with conservation and parks and really all of the game and fish and North Dakota State Parks issues that we're dealing with not only in oil country but across the state. This is by no means something that would just go to western North Dakota, but it recognizes those needs that are created by a CRP program going away, by increased utilization of our private lands enrolled in the PLOTS program, and it provides a funding mechanism going forward that would fund an independent board that then answers directly to the State Industrial Commission, which is made up of the Attorney General, the Governor, and the Commissioner of Agriculture, three elected individuals that then would approve or not approve the expenditure of the funds.
Now, one thing that, and I guess it's a concern that I have, and I've heard it from others as well, is that by the legislature may be giving away some of its decision-making authority. I mean, why? It seems if the legislature wants to do conservation, then why doesn't the legislature do conservation? Why do we have a need for this board?
Well, we don't. We give away our authority to spend all the time through the appropriations process. What we're saying is that we're basically giving that authority to the Industrial Commission, the same as we do with their management of the State Mill and Elevator, the same as we do with their management of the North Dakota Oil and Gas Agency, the same as we do with the Bank of North Dakota. So they have that authority in many other areas inside of the state of North Dakota. That was one of our main concerns, is that the way that the initiated measure was formulated, we did not have oversight from a state agency. The Industrial Commission is a state agency. They have state employees. Carleen Fine is their executive director, and they have the ability now to spend state funds. And so we wanted to keep it rather than create a board that answers to nobody. We wanted to create a system that still falls within the checks and balances of the existing state government.
Is part of the motivation for this bill in the legislature to get out in front of what? Because obviously I think you've highlighted some areas that we're all concerned about with that previous initiated measure. Is part of this doing this through the legislature to get out in front of the potential for another measure on the next ballot?
I don't necessarily think that it's to get out in front of it. I think that what that initiated measure did is I think that it raised an awareness that there was a need out there, and I think that in doing that, It also raised the awareness that that the board structure of how they wanted to operate outside of the umbrella of state government raised some concerns. So we wanted to make sure that we got in front of that and change that board structure. We also looked and went to our state agencies, Game and Fish and Parks and Rec, and told them, put a plan together for us and tell us what, where you see the deficiencies right now in the loss of CRP and in the overcrowding in our parks and some of the infrastructure needs that we have as a state, and come back with some dollar amounts. And they came back to us with dollar amounts in that $30 million of biennium area. So that's where we set the dollar amount of what we need. Once you take away the ability to do perpetual easements, and once you take away the ability to purchase land with this money, and you take away the ability to do those types of things, then the overall needs of that program go from $100 million a year down to that $15 million a year.
Now, you do have some limitations in the bill. I saw you mentioned some of them. You can't purchase or land, and you can't encumber it for more than 20 years. You cannot, and I saw specifically nothing in there that's going to impede oil, gas, coal development. But one real concern, and this was a big concern that in the original measure, was that some of the money could go to nonprofit organizations. Now, your bill puts some oversight. The State Industrial Commission would have oversight. The members of this board would serve at the pleasure of the governor. And you also have some restrictions in there saying you can't encumber oil, gas development. But if it can go to nonprofits, is there a concern that some of these profits might be political in nature, and that this money could be diverted for political purposes?
Well, that's specifically prohibited also. On page 2, sub 2, it says lobbying activities. So as this board is meeting and a group would come in front of them with a specific project, it would be the responsibility of the board and the Industrial Commission to make sure that the funds are being spent inside what this particular law would say. So no, they couldn't. And the other area that we went right after was in the smoking initiated measure for the smoking tax dollars. It specifically stated in that one that they could use it to do the CDC's best practices, and inside of the CDC's best practices, that included initiated measures and lobbying for anti-smoking. And we wanted to make sure that this money stays with its intended purpose, and that would be to do those conservation and outdoor projects that we need.
What sort of nonprofits, and I think maybe that's something that has a lot of people a little bit concerned when you hear that money is going to go to a nonprofit group. I mean, what sort of nonprofit groups would get this sort of money?
Well, I would see, just as an example, you guys have a trap club north of Minot that could come back to Game and Fish, and they could say, we have a big need because of the number of energy workers living in the area, that we need to expand our operation. We've got enough land, but we don't have enough equipment to do it. I could see Parks and Rec coming in and saying, we've got this land sitting in this state park, and we don't have the need to do it, but we've also got a foundation or a nonprofit that we work with that we're going to cost share in expanding this area and put in the sewer hookups and put things in. I'm hoping that the vast majority of this money is used to match other dollars from those other nonprofits in doing some of this.
All right, Representative Porter, thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Talk to you later.